Babylon 5 reboot looks more and more likely to be about to happen, whether it be on the CW or HBO Max. So I asked the question to the fans, what would you want to see if it did get a reboot? And you answered. Welcome to SciTrek, your sci-fi TV and movie channel. So, before I tell you about some of the comments I got after I asked this question, first of all, I'm going to try to answer the very simple question of what Babylon 5 was. What is the core to this show, as well as what JMS has already said. So the difference between a hard and a soft reboot, just really quickly. A soft reboot is like Star Trek The Next Generation. The original series still happened, but you've got whole new characters, whole new story, away you go. That's been done. Really, any sequel, technically, if they've got new characters, is a soft reboot. A hard reboot is a new show, new characters, new story, everything else, but the original series never happened. So in this case, JMS is doing a hard reboot. I got to say, first of all, I asked the people, do you want a hard reboot? And an awful lot of people said, no, we'd love a continuation. Some people said, we want to see Babylon 6. Other people then pointed out that you can't have Babylon 6. Babylon 5 was our last best hope for peace. There were no other Babylon stations after Babylon 5. So we can't have a continuation in that sense. We could have seen a continuation of the story of the Crusades, but that wouldn't have been Babylon 5 either. And JMS has said this will be a Babylon 5 reboot. So, folks, we're getting a reboot, like it or not. Oh, by the way, if you do like the content, please consider hitting the join button and becoming a fully fledged Sci-Trekker. You can also go to sci-trek.com and pick marvelous merchandise. All of these little things really help the channel. Also, if you're new to the channel, like, subscribe, hit that bell notification, and share the video wherever the hell you want. But I make the Battlestar Galactica comparison for a very simple reason. Battlestar Galactica worked because it took the core principles of the original show, the core of what that show was, and it made something new from it. So in this example, then, we have to think about what is the core of Babylon 5, and then what could JMS use to create an entirely new show from. So for me, there are a couple of really important bits to it. There was the Earth-Minbari War. I think that is really key to this. It was not necessarily the war itself, but how Earth reacted to it.
He is behind me. You are in front of me. If you value your lives, be somewhere else.
So we found out that we were not alone in the universe, and we started to expand and to explore. We came across the Minbari and a conflict started. Now, that was a conflict that we got soundly beaten during. They were on the brink of wiping us out. Now, they chose to surrender when they found out about the whole souls thing. I also love, to be fair, how that conflict started with JMS, but that wouldn't really be key to me. He could think of something new for that if he wanted to. But the whole way of them, they have their weapon doors open to show this is our strength, but we come in peace. And that scared the humans, so we fired first. We thought they were threatening us. I liked that story arc, and I kind of hope he can do something similar, but obviously we'll try and do it in a different way. That was key, though. It was not, like I say, the war necessarily, but the defeat that was important and the way we then reacted to it. And our reaction was to build the Babylon stations. Babylon 5 being the final one. A 5-mile-long space station in neutral space. I think, though, also, not just the fact that the station was there, but that it was an imperfect station. You know, we had things like Brown Sector. We had wanderers, entrepreneurs, diplomats, and hustlers coming in and out of the station. It was really a hub for aliens to intermix with each other, the good and the bad. Now, remembering, Babylon 5 was considered the poor man's Star Trek back in the day, and it was never a very fair example, but it did run roughly at the same time as The Next Generation. The Next Generation was all shiny, and everything was great, and there was no money, and people were perfect, and, you know, nobody had a dark side. Then we had Babylon 5, which actually did show the underbelly and the reality of not just humans, but of aliens and life around the universe. The Minbari, yes, were religious, but even they had their dark side. A lot of the other alien species were more like us than we'd like to admit. We then had the Shadow War and the Shadow Conflict. Now, for me, the Shadow War was the best part of Babylon 5. It was the third series, I think, was the best series. It showed some of the best, it was amazing battle scenes and things, but the story was really sharp. For me, that was my favorite part of Babylon 5. It's what made Babylon 5. If you've never watched Babylon 5 before, to be fair, you could just go back and watch the third series and you'll be absolutely blown away. I think it did, after the Shadow War, sort of meander a little bit and never quite got back to that height. Even though some of the conflict where Sheridan had to go and retake Earth and all that sort of thing was brilliant, it didn't quite have the same punch as the Shadow Conflict. So is the Shadow War and that whole thing core to Babylon 5? Do they need to repeat that in the reboot? I'm not sure they do. I think the whole thing between the Minbari and the Earth Force battle, that is key. That needs to be repeated because that is core to why the Babylon station was then built. We then need to see the Babylon 5 station, or a new modern version of that. We then need to see, obviously, the aliens coming together, and that's the whole point of the show. Beyond that, I think JMS could really do whatever the hell he wanted. Obviously, there has to be some sort of conflict. Susan Ivanova said it best here.
The Babylon Project was our last best hope for peace.
But then...
But in the year of the Shadow War, it became something greater. Our last best hope for victory.
The last best hope for survival of everybody. Now, this could mean a new villain. We don't have to necessarily see the Shadows return, even though, God, I really hope so. They had some of the best starship designs. I mean, the Shadows are oh man, I really want to see that return because they're iconic. But at the same time, JMS can't really do that again because we know that story, we know how it ends. He's got to do something completely different. Now, what he has said about his reboot is that he has seen what lots of other TV shows have done before him. He has learned himself over many years of working in the industry. And he has decided that what he wants to do is if Babylon 5 never existed, if he had that story today, what would he do now? So that moves me into one of the other big areas of some of the comments I saw. Don't make it go woke. A lot of people do seem to be very nervous that this show is just going to be another mess. They don't particularly like most of New Trek. I think apart from Strange New Worlds, New Trek has been a bit of a failure. For me anyway, I just don't like Discovery. I wish I did. I tried so hard. But a lot of people do keep using this word woke. Now, if you are a regular SciTrekker, you'll know that I'm not a fan of that word. I do think that there is a genuine problem with some filmmakers that the word woke is used to describe. But Babylon 5 was kind of a bit woke in even 25 years ago. He did have a lot of storylines that would be considered now to be woke. He did talk about a lot of very spiritual matters for a start, and religion as well. JMS is really not afraid to explore the issues of the time. He explored not just the good side of man, but the dark side. And I think that exploration would continue within a new series. And to be honest, it's got to. Because I prefer the word awake. I think all good sci-fi should be awake. It should be awake to the day-to-day problems within our culture and society. And it should explore ways, using the metaphor of science fiction, ways to solve some of those problems. The biggest thing, though, the biggest comment I got when I asked people, what do they want to see JMS do with Babylon 5? Everybody said, we trust JMS. Give him a platform. Don't let interfering executives take over. Put him on a network where he can do a good job, even if that has to be the CW, a network we generally don't particularly like. But let him do what he does best and create a show that we will hopefully adore almost as much as we adored the original. So guys, get in the comments and tell me what you think. What is core to Babylon 5? What is the important bit that he must bring into the new series? And what is the stuff that maybe he could leave behind in the original? I'd love to know exactly what you think. And hey, if we shout loudly enough and continuing to follow the Twitter trend, follow the hashtag here, let's hope that maybe somebody is listening. If you are new to the channel, please like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. It really helps us out. Also, if you enjoy the content, please consider becoming a fully fledged SciTrekker. Hit the join button. As always, please stay safe. I'll see you next time.
It's over because we've decided it's over. Now get the hell out of our galaxy.